The iPhone 11 Pro was announced and subsequently released in the September of 2019 and was discontinued the October of 2020. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and the iPhone 11 Pro is a great phone and one that Apple is no longer selling. So today, let's go over the life and death of the iPhone 11 Pro. I'm a bit late to this video, but it was very requested, so here we are. The iPhone 11 Pro obviously isn't dead in the sense that it's a bad phone or that it's obsolete in any way. It's still a great phone. I always get annoyed comments on these kinds of videos, people saying, oh, you're clickbaiting us for saying that it's dead in the title, and that's not my intention. I mean, it is my intention to clickbait you, but I'm not trying to be dishonest about it. When I say the 11 Pro is dead, I mean that it's no longer being sold. Apple discontinued it. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that the 11 Pro was discontinued. The reason Apple's no longer selling the 11 Pro is the same reason the iPhone XS was discontinued in 2019 and the iPhone X in 2018. The iPhone 12 Pro has launched and taken its place as the premium option in Apple's iPhone lineup. It starts at $1,000 for the smaller 12 Pro, same as what the 11 Pro had cost, while the next step down is the iPhone 12 at $800 and the 12 mini at $700. Compare this to last year when the 11 Pro was at least $1,000 and the 11 was $700 with no mini option. The price bump of the 12 is definitely significant, but at the same time, right now the 11 is still available for $600, and that's pretty good. And then you have the XR at $500, which is also pretty good, and the SE at $400, which I'd say is fair, which makes a very full lineup of iPhones and an option for nearly every price point except for those with a tight budget. Of course, budget is very relative to the person. I would consider the iPhone SE a bit of a budget phone for $400. A lot of people would disagree with me on that. But do keep in mind, when you're buying an iPhone, if you're getting it from a carrier, you're likely not paying, $400 or $1,000 outright. Likely you're getting some kind of plan or contract, so your pricing is going to look different. But that is the iPhone lineup as it stands right now going into 2021, and it will remain this way until around next September or October. I really like how Apple has things, and I can see why they didn't have a place for the 11 Pro. It's similar enough to the 12 Pro that it makes more sense for them to discontinue it entirely as opposed to lower the price and keep it around, especially because if they did do that, it'd be directly competing against the iPhone 12. Ooh, maybe I should just back up here a little bit, talking about a lot of iPhones at once. This here in my hand is the iPhone 11 Pro Max, a phone that costed me way too much money and also a phone that I've absolutely loved. I used it for the entire year until the launch of the iPhone 12, and I've been using the 12 since my unboxing of it. I love both of these phones. I haven't felt much of a difference going to the 12. Honestly, it feels pretty similar except for the square design and smaller display, and that's a big reason I went to it. The 11 Pro Max's size is amazing, and I really love it, but I don't have the biggest hands, and the 12 is just a lot more comfortable for me to use. When it comes to screen sizes, 6.1 inches diagonally seems to be the sweet spot for me. I just didn't want to get the iPhone XR or 11 in previous years because those phones did not have an OLED display, but with the 12, I'm not making that sacrifice. But I could go back to the 11 Pro Max in a heartbeat and not even notice much of a difference. It's so fast, so fluid, and it does have that extra telephoto camera lens that I do occasionally miss. This phone, from when I got it to even now, has felt like a top-of-the-line flagship, which is exactly what one should expect when paying $1,000+ for a smartphone. The 11 Pro, I think, will go down as one of the better iPhones in recent history. As someone who, in the past few years, has gone from the 10 to the XS to the 11 Pro and finally the 12, only the 10 and 11 Pro have felt like real substantial upgrades to me. The 10 was definitely a big upgrade, regardless of whether you were coming from the iPhone 4 or the iPhone 7. For me, I had an iPhone 6S at the time of buying it, and getting the near bezel-less design and switching to the gesture system was just an amazing experience. In 2018, I sold that iPhone 10 and bought the iPhone XS, hoping to keep the tradition of having the latest and greatest, and honestly, I kind of regret regret that decision. Ultimately, it didn't really hurt me to get the XS, as I did recoup my money through videos as well as what I got for selling my 10. It's just that I didn't need it. It felt exactly the same as my 10, and I remember especially being annoyed with the battery life. The 10 I felt like had an excuse for only an okay battery. It was the first OLED iPhone after all, but the XS had the same issue, and sometimes not even making it a full day without having to charge it was just unacceptable. But come 2019, and all that changed when the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max were released. I was skeptical at first. From the keynote, the phone looked good, but more of the same. Of course, Apple moved to frosted glass, which is a design element I still absolutely love, and we also got the midnight green color, a color completely unique to this phone, as it isn't on the iPhone 12 or 12 Pro. Heck, I don't even know if we'll ever see it again, and if we don't, I'm glad I at least got the phone that had it because it looks awesome. Of course, I do like the blue on the 12 and 12 Pro even better, but the green is still super unique, and the 11 Pro is definitely up there for my favorite iPhone designs of all time. Hey, here's a throwback. You remember when everyone was freaking out about those 3 camera lenses? It feels like so long ago, but the 11 Pro's design was actually controversial at first. A lot of people just hated the layout of the lenses and the square camera bump, and while I was on the fence, I quite like it now. But I know that isn't an opinion shared by everyone, and hey, if it isn't your thing, it isn't your thing, but every smartphone does have to cram all those camera lenses on somehow, and so far, I like Apple's implementation the best. Along with the frosted glass, midnight green, and new camera bump, we also got a centered Apple logo for the first time. Apple had been slowly removing the text off of the back of their phones for years. First, the iPhone 7 got some of the warnings off of the bottom, then the 8 and the 10 got rid of all the text except for the iPhone word mark, and then in 2019, Apple did away with everything except for the logo itself. At first, I was really apprehensive about the centered logo as it just felt wrong. I mean, every iPhone since the first one has had it near the top, but I've gotten used to it and I like it. I think moving it was the right decision if Apple was adamant on getting rid of the iPhone text, and they were. I never had an issue with the word mark per se, but I do appreciate the simplification of the design. This phone is clean, plain and simple, and I love it. I meant figuratively clean, but it actually does look a lot cleaner now that it's frosted glass instead of glossy glass. Frosted glass means your fingerprints won't smear the back like they would on the glossy iPhone 11. Save the visible fingerprints for the peasants who can't afford the best model, I guess. And I suppose I'm now in that camp given my iPhone 12 has a glossy back. Whoops. I do really miss this frosted glass, but the truth is I almost always used a case anyways, so there hasn't been much of a difference for me besides the size. And the size. The 11 Pro Max was the first time I had gotten a plus or max size iPhone for me to use myself. Actually, hold on, that's a lie. I always forget. I did use the iPhone 8 Plus for like a month before switching to the iPhone XS. This was right before I bought the XS in 2018. But anyways, the max size wasn't new, as the XS Max was a thing in 2018, and I think had I gotten that one instead of the smaller XS, I would have considered it to be more of an upgrade. The battery at least would have been a bit better. The battery on the XS was pretty crappy to what I had just started to get used to with the 8 Plus. But then I got the 11 Pro and my life was changed forever. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but the iPhone 11 Pro's battery is by and far my favorite feature of this phone. The A13 chip allowed for optimizations to be made, and that with the slightly bigger battery, hours and hours of more life were pumped out. I went from struggling to have life at the end of the day to going 2 days and having juice to spare. Apple really has nailed their batteries in recent years, minus maybe the iPhone SE, it's not great, but the iPhone 12 has continued to be great for me. I talked about the design aspect of the 3-camera setup, but it's necessary I mention just how much of an upgrade these were. It shot Apple forward into the lead, or at least up there in terms of smartphone photography, as they just blew the XS away, and also offered some of the best options in terms of what kind of photo you want. The ultra-wide, the wide, and the telephoto, all 3 lenses take great photos, particularly the main wide lens. The improvements made here have been carried forward by the iPhone 12 line, and of course the 12 Pro has brought even more to the table with the LiDAR sensor. But I think most will agree the 11 Pro was one of the biggest camera upgrades Apple's made in a long time, and we probably won't see a jump like this again for a while. Don't forget this phone also introduced night mode. It really was a huge change. When I bought the iPhone 11 Pro, I didn't really know what to expect, but it fast became one of my favorite iPhones I've ever used. The experience has been just about perfect. I don't think I can think of even one issue I've had with this phone. It's been great. Besides, it was really darn expensive, but that's the price you pay, quite literally, to get the best of the best from Apple. And a year later, the 11 Pro holds up up great. It runs iOS 14 just as fast as it did 13, and this phone will remain relevant for years more to come. It's difficult to say just how long this phone will last, but I think we're at the point where the hardware is just so good in these iPhones that I don't think they'll ever feel annoying or painful to use like say the iPhone 4 or 4S were on their latest versions. The iPhone 5S set a new precedent for iPhones, one of a long life of updates and relatively smooth performance on every version. I have high expectations from Apple moving forward, and the 11 Pro being so great is a big reason why. For now, I'll continue using my iPhone 12, but there isn't anything in particular pushing me to do so. I could switch back to the 11 Pro Max anytime and be perfectly fine with it. This was a great phone, and while it's sad to see that it's already discontinued, in a way that makes the time that I spent with it all the more special, knowing that in a few years there won't be that many of these around anymore. That's kind of cool in a way, and the 12 and 12 Pro are proper successors to it, albeit fairly incremental upgrades. But with that, I think I'm about done this video here. They say the brightest candles burn the quickest, and I think that works with the 11 Pro. Hopefully we'll get more iPhones just as great as this one in the future. I'm not going to talk about whether or not it could be worth buying, at least in this video. I should have a proper review coming in January, but for now, I'd say I generally recommend just getting the iPhone 12 over the 11 Pro, or of course the 12 Pro. This phone is great, but I'm personally a fan of buying new straight from Apple when possible, and there's a good chance you'd have to turn to the used market to get a hold of one of these. But for now, I'll be keeping this 11 Pro Max around for reviews, and who knows, maybe at some point I'll switch back. Any of you out there using the iPhone 11 Pro or 11 Pro Max? How's it going for you? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. It was nice to kind of go back to my roots a little bit with this video. I haven't done a lot of these in recent history, but I always enjoy these kind of more in-depth analysis into Apple iPhones and things like that most people probably wouldn't think too hard about, but I don't know, for some reason I find it interesting. Maybe I'm just weird. If you found this video interesting, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at 91_tech if you'd like to for some reason, and we do have a Discord channel. You should come by, say hi. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.